The South China Sea is fundamentally about history, a very important issue in the region for three reasons, really. First of all, history is at the root of any country's territorial claim. To make a claim vis-a-vis another country's claim to the same piece of territory, it's inevitable and it's important that you present a good story about your country's connection to that territory. It's also important to bear in mind that history is not important when you're talking about maritime claims. Maritime claims are strictly a function of the provisions of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Of course, they only kick in once you know who owns what piece of land, because maritime entitlements follow from a territorial jurisdiction. The second thing to bear in mind about history is that it's only important to make a historical argument if you're trying to persuade somebody in a legal mode. In other words, if you're having a conversation about who owns what in the South China Sea, and you make an argument appealing to history, in effect, you are always, inevitably, making a legal argument. So there is no such thing as a distinction between a justification for territorial entitlements based on history and a justification for territorial entitlements based on international law. They're two sides of the same coin. You cannot really have one without the other. So if you're making historical arguments, you're making implicit legal arguments. The third point I'd like to make, and this is very important, is that if your preferred mode of solving a territory dispute is negotiation, bilateral or multilateral, you don't have to talk about history. History is irrelevant in that context. A negotiation is a discussion between two parties about exchanging benefits. In other words, one party has something that the other party wants and offers up something else in return for a transfer. That's the essence of negotiation. If you're talking about history in the context of negotiation, you are not negotiating. You are making a legal argument. So it's very important to bear in mind that history is crucial in the South China Sea, that discussions of history are inevitable, but they cannot be extricated from a discussion of legality, because one only ever makes judgments of entitlement against a background of well-established rules and norms about entitlement that the international community collectively subscribes to. And that, in a nutshell, is the role of history in the South China Sea.